Hi, welcome to this session, and we're using something called the Franklin balls, which you can get on Amazon or through me, and they're about £21. So these are proper fascial balls, but you could substitute them something like a tennis ball, or you can feel these are a little bit squishier than that. So it just depends if you can find something that's soft enough that it isn't creating a pressure into your muscles that is uncomfortable, that you want to almost lift away from. You almost want to feel like your body is going to sink into these. So come down onto your mat, and we're looking at trying to release out through the hip muscles. So we're going to work them a little bit. So it's nice to get the hip muscles working and then lengthen them out. So come down onto your back, either with a towel or a head cushion. And before we start, let's just have the balls in either hand and just turn the palms to face each other. And just nestle your shoulder blades down into the mat and let the pelvis just give. And before we start, just close your eyes and notice how your body is feeling. And by that I mean notice the weight of your body on that floor underneath you, and what parts of the body are in contact. Does one shoulder blade feel heavier on the mat than the other? Notice down the backs of the arms. Is one arm more in contact? Notice how the spine feels and if it's lifted away from the mat or whether it's sinking down into the floor. The weight of the pelvis and the feet. Nice, and then here, just nice and slowly, pick up the arms and just hover them there, and now just become aware of your shoulders again. And just notice if they've come away from the mat, and just allow your arms to sink backwards. So we're keeping those arms heavy on the back of the mat as you just take the arms overhead. Nice and slowly now, almost imagining that you're just stopping the arms from falling backwards, and just flow back to where it's comfortable for you. And if you can rest them down on the floor, nice. Perhaps noticing if one arm came down sooner than the other. And now here we're going to just slide out through one leg. And almost imagine that there's a piece of elastic from that big toe through the inside ankle, up through the inner aspect of the leg, into the groin. And a piece of elastic coming up through the centre of the abdomen, or not the centre, but just to that either side of the centre. And then all the way up, two pieces of elastic from either big toes, all the way lining up to the tip of the ears, and then to your index finger overhead. And you're not creating tension, but stay soft on the mat, but can you just think about stretching the elastic away, but without tension. So we just get a sense of length through the body. And then here, slide one leg up, slide the other leg up, leaving one arm behind you, bring the other arm to center, and just let again the shoulder sink into the mat. Scoop the other one, and now split those arms. And then coming back, keeping the arm bone super heavy and the arm super relaxed. And back. Nice. And then coming and bringing that arm back down to center. So just notice how that felt, and we're going to come back to those two movements at the end of the session. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to place one ball in the hard part of your pelvis. So centrally here, your tailbone just at the top of your bottom, on the hard part of your pelvis, and below the arch in your lower back. So there's a triangle there called your sacrum, and you're going to balance on your ball there. Other ball can just rest. In fact, we'll just pop it between your knees. And here, I want you just to rock your pelvis slightly to one side and slightly the other, just shifting that ball across the sacrum. And we're going to do 2 more movements there. And then 1 more. Coming back to center. If you need to position it a little bit, then do. Take the ball out from between your knees and you're going to place it under your head, and I'm going to remove the mat. So you're going to find there's a little knobble at the back of your head, and almost allow your ball to sink into the back of your head. And let the arms rest by the side. And now you'll feel like you're lifted away from the floor underneath you, and that your spine is suspended between the 2 balls. And just try and let your body sink into the balls. And then from here, we're going to pick up 1 leg. Now I'm just folding through the thigh bone so that the thigh bone is on the vertical, and rather than my foot coming up as well, I'm leaving my foot floppy towards my sit bone, so there's no tension in my foreleg. And then I'm going to lower that back down. And we're going to switch here. And my aim is to keep that spine just suspended between the 2 balls. And there's a little balance challenge here with the instability on the balls. And we're going to keep marching here. And 2 more. Keeping the foot floppy. And down. Then here we're going to take the arms up, and again let the arm bones sink down into the mat underneath you. And just pick up. And switch. And it might be that that's enough of a challenge for you. I can keep my head and neck super relaxed and still pick up. If you're becoming tense in your shoulders to maintain this, this might be a level that you need to work at. Or a halfway house might be just bringing the elbows out wide. But you want to be able to do this with full relaxation. I'm just sinking my pelvis into the ball, and I'm scooping the other one up. So here's a little sense of instability, dropping my heels to my sit bones, and now I'm going to tap here. Keeping that heel bone to my sit bone, and then just gently pointing my toe. And then all I'm going to do is just let my arm movements move with me. And keep breathing. Everything staying as relaxed as it can be, and my spine just suspended between those 2 points. Last 2. Last 1. Then lower 1 leg down, lower the other leg down. Arms come down and take the ball out from underneath the pelvis, and just notice how the pelvis feels. Hopefully a nice sense of relief there. Take my head off and just let it rest either to the floor or on the mat. I think that relaxation has now allowed me to find the floor comfortably. Nice. And then from here, we're going to come back into placing the ball under the pelvis. Scoop 1 leg up and the other, and place the ball between the knees. Drop the heels to make this a little bit easier. If this puts too much pressure in your back, then just avoid this. You don't want to put too much pressure on your spine, but you're going to keep that ball between your knees and toe tap and come up. If the neck is starting to feel like it's working, then perhaps this is too much for you. And come up. Cool. Just tapping. And we're going to go for 4 more. And I'm just keeping the weight of my lower back or my pelvis on the ball underneath me. And last one here. Pretty effortful. Coming back up. And then last little exercise, we're going to roll the ball as we lower the feet. So I'm just rolling the ball, getting a touch of rotation. Let my foot find the floor, and then roll the ball back up. And I'm just going to do one more of those. So just the ball if you need, and then walk the ball out, and then walk the ball back. Cool, taking the ball out, lower one leg, lower the other, and now let your body just find the floor and notice how you feel. Then from here we're going to place both balls like they're one piece of kit, so they can't split, and we're going to place them back in that sacroiliac area, so in the sacrum, and then just feel where the pelvis feels balanced and comfortable. And this time we're going to pick one leg up and the other, and just do some marches here, so it's slightly more comfortable with both balls in. Arms come up, a little challenge, and add in just a slight movement through the upper body or through the arms. And we're going to go for 10 more here. Keeping that pelvis heavy on the balls. 3 more, 2, 1. And then hug those knees in towards you slightly. We're going to take one knee in. So I've just hugged the knee in as best I can without coming off the balls. And the other foot we're going to take up to the ceiling, just where it's comfortable for you, and then point the toe. And now start to lengthen the leg out, nice and straight to the floor. And because we're on the balls, you're going to get a little bit of extension into that hip. Pause at the bottom and hug the other knee as best you can into your chest. Imagine just sinking a little bit deeper through the posterior pelvis on the balls. And notice the width across the front of the pelvis and length into that hip socket. Slide the foot along the floor so it's least effort. Fold back up and then reach away. Nice and slow but smooth. Pause once you touch the floor, almost thinking about this thigh bone lengthening out of the hip socket. And then fold in and up. Reach. In and up. 3 more here, just keeping this sense of flow. Wide pelvis, pause at the bottom to get the sense of length, and then fold. Breathing out. Reach the leg and lengthen. And 2 more here. And last one. Slide the foot up, bring it in, switch your hands over and just let go through the pelvis, and as best you can deepen the hug of your knee in towards you. If you need to hold behind the knee, if you've got problems by putting pressure on the knee, then you can. Reach the leg up and start to lengthen it out. Pause at the bottom and think about a nice wide pelvis on the balls underneath you. Fold and reach. Fold and reach. And if you're getting any clicking at all, might be your hip tendon just flicking over the pelvic bowl. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to lengthen out those tight hip muscles that tend to get a little bit short where they've been working to help stabilize you in a sitting position when you're sitting at your desk. We want them to do what they're meant to do, which is flex the hip and then also be able to lengthen out, working them through their full range. Last one here. And certainly this left hip is giving me a little bit of clicking. And then fold back up, lower the leg, and now taking the balls out, and this is always a tricky place to find, but you want the dimples of your bottom, so in the squishy parts of your bum, so you're bringing the balls out wider, And you'll know if it's right because it almost feels like your tailbone's just lifted away from the floor and it's sinking in to the muscles in the bottom, and it might feel a bit tender, so just adjust to where feels right for you. And then let the spine just sink towards the floor. And we're going to finish here with just rolling onto the outside edge of one foot, opening the knee and coming back in. Switching sides here, a little rock. As you rock onto the outside edge of the foot, you'll feel that ball almost feels like a thumb sinking into the muscles. And just hold, so you don't have to copy or follow me exactly. It might be that it feels nice to just stay there for a little bit. Or it might feel like, oh, it just feels a bit tender, a bit lower, or a bit in. So just adjust that ball. Drop the knee wide and then rock back in when feels good for you. And what we're doing here is keeping the pelvis nice and wide. And we're starting to just open up through the hip joint as well. And just take a moment to notice how the breath feels. How the body feels on the mat underneath you. And we're going to go for one more each side here. And last one. Back to center, and then allow the pelvis to just drop onto the mat, arms by the side of the body, holding the balls in each hand. And just close your eyes and notice how the spine feels here. So we're going to take the arms nice and slow up and overhead, keeping the weight of the arm bones heavy on the mat underneath you. Then nice and slowly just taking the arms back. Noticing if that feels different at all. Slide one leg out and the other, and without tension you're just lengthening away. Just notice if there's a difference in the weight of the body on the mat, how the legs feel, how the shoulders feel. And then we'll slide one leg up and the other. Bring the arms back to center. Split one arm down by the side of you, other one back. And then back to center and switch. Come back to center, lower both arms down, and just notice how the body feels on the mat underneath you. And I'm going to leave you in this lying position to finish the session. Stay here for as long as you want to and enjoy that sense through the body.